And welcome to the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben, and thanks for being here. 844-236-6010 is our number if you have questions, comments, success stories you'd like to share. If you have any questions on health, nutrition, or prescription drugs, or the longevity products, or our True Skin Health products, we want to hear from you. 844-236-6010. Let's make this program a dialogue, not a monologue. It's far more interesting when we talk to you. 844-236-6010. More interesting for me and more interesting for listeners. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll get your calls in our next segment. We're going to be talking to Jonathan Rivera at the bottom of the hour. Jonathan is the author of a couple really cool books on podcasting, and he also has a very inspirational podcast himself called The Daily Bread. And I am all about inspiration, especially in this crazy, corona-crazy, chaotic time that we're living in. I think this is a time when we can be inspiring to others, we can be inspiring to ourselves, we can pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, and we can turn crisis into opportunity. The bigger the crisis, the bigger the opportunity. What are the opportunities, you say? The opportunity, number one, to start taking care of our bodies, because we have created a vector for the virus. We have created a viral vector, whether you believe in viruses or not. We have what is indisputable is the fact that we have created a perfect storm for disease and for illness. Viruses pick off the weak. They're opportunistic. They wait for opportunities. One of the biggest risk factors for COVID symptomology is obesity. This is from the journal Endocrinology Advisor. Obesity associated with hospital admission for COVID-19. From the American Society for Nutrition, impact of obesity and metabolic syndrome on immunity. One of the things obesity does, one of the things body fat does, is it increases the amount of inflammatory chemicals that are in the body. This is one of the, there's a lot of problems with obesity, but one of the biggest is the fact that fat is pro-inflammatory. Fat produces lots of inflammatory chemicals, lots of immune chemicals. Being obese or even just carrying excess body fat puts you at risk for all kinds of immune problems, including autoimmunity, as well as depressed immunity. And yes, they can go together. Autoimmunity is when the immune system is weakened. Or actually, it's not when it's weakened, but that's one of the things that can happen when your body is constantly being attacked by foods, or when the immune system is on overdrive. Eventually, the immune system won't be able to handle things like viruses. The immune system won't be able to handle things like allergies. The immune system, by the way, is gut-driven, digestive system-driven, and it's also subject to a phenomena called load, straw that breaks the camel's back phenomena, which means when you start working on your digestive system, your food, your pollen allergies, your springtime allergies will be less significant. Which means when you start working on your digestive system, you'll have more immune power for handling viruses or anything else. Which means when you start working on your digestive system, you'll be living a longer life because your immune system will be able to do what it needs to do. This is why the digestive system and food is so darn important, not to mention the whole obesity connection. Impact of obesity and metabolic syndrome on immunity, obesity associated with hospital admissions. This whole comorbid phenomenon has to be examined as well. 99% of people who passed away in Italy from the coronavirus were comorbid. They had other health challenges, especially cardiovascular health challenges and diabetes and obesity and smoking. That's what we want to be working on. We want to be working on it. The masks are silly. What you want to be doing is working on your immune system. If you're wearing a mask and you're going to McDonald's, what is that saying? That's the kind of disconnect we make when it comes to how we take care of our bodies and how we take care of our health. How many people who are wearing masks are on a robust nutritional supplement program that features selenium, that features zinc, that features essential fatty acids, that features all of your trace minerals, your plant-derived trace minerals. It features vitamin C, alpha-lipoic acid, and acetylcysteine. These are incredibly powerful immune-boosting supplements. How many people on masks are taking 500 milligrams of N-acetylcysteine and 2 grams of vitamin C a day? That's where we want to be focusing on. Now, whether or not this is, I don't know how big a deal this is really. If we think about it. If you didn't watch the news or if you didn't go on the internet, would you really even know anything was happening? For the most part, most of us would not even know there was anything happening. Do you realize that? Most people, if they didn't watch the news and they didn't go on the internet and talk to their friends or wherever, get their sources of information from, nobody would notice there was anything going on. But you start watching the news, which nobody should watch, by the way. What we should all be doing is motivating, listening to motivational tapes, listening to motivational podcasts, reading motivational books, being inspired to change our lifestyles personally and help others change their lifestyles. This is an opportunity for all of us to be great. This is an opportunity for all of us to be at our best. And this is an opportunity for us to ask questions. This is an opportunity for us to be critical thinkers. Critical thinking. That, in fact, this is the most to me, this is the most important lesson here, is we have to learn to be critical thinkers. I got a letter earlier today from somebody who was expressing frustration about how supposedly smart people are buying into all of this stuff. Right? Well, the answer is you could be supposedly smart, but if you're not a critical thinker, that's not going to help you. You're just going to do what you're told. You could be smart. You can have all the intellectual powers there are. Lots of scientists, lots of doctors are very intelligent, but they don't critically think. They don't deconstruct. I love that word, deconstruct their beliefs. They don't break them down. How do I know it's true? Where did I get that information from? Being a critical thinker is different from being intelligent, and this is an opportunity for us to be critical thinkers. You don't even have to be intelligent to be a critical thinker, to think scientifically, to analyze data, to understand something called epistemology. Epistemology is the science or the study of how we know things. Yes, there's actually a science and a study of how knowledge is gained. And understanding how knowledge is gained, or understanding what constitutes knowledge, is not something that we're taught. It's not something that we're just born with understanding. You've got to participate. You got to read. You got to look at how you get your information, and you got to get multiple sources of information. It's very troubling that YouTube and social media is something like Facebook, social media platforms are censoring. It's very troubling that all of the mass media is in lockstep when it comes to this one idea. All of them, uniform. There's no alternative or dissenting ideas. That's not good for science. That's very unscientific. It's very religious, actually. It's religious, not scientific. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. On the bright side, I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll get your calls here in just a second. We do have lines open. 844-236-6010 is our number. We have Jonathan Rivera coming up at the bottom of the hour. Jonathan has got a great podcast called The Daily Bread, and he's doing what I want to be doing on this program, which is inspire people, motivate people, help people deal with crisis in an opportunistic fashion. Crisis equals opportunity. Bigger the crisis, the bigger the opportunity. We'll talk to Jonathan Rivera at the bottom of the hour in our next segment. Take your phone calls this segment, 844-236-6010. I just want to read this real quick. I found an interesting paper on something called humic acid. Humic acid is the mineral and organic content of soil. And humates, technically speaking, are it's the soft, squishy humic acid and humates are the soft, squishy brown stuff it's the stuff that gives dirt or mud its brown color, I should say. This is the part of the soil that's responsible for transferring nutrients from the soil to the living organism, i.e. the plant. That's what humates do. And the active ingredient in the humates are the fulvates, or the fulvics. And between the fulvics and the humics, you have some seriously powerful medicine. That's called, by the way, in longevity parlance, plant-derived minerals. At least the mineral portion is called plant-derived minerals. And these plant-derived minerals have tremendously valuable properties. This is reading from, this is actually a chapter in a textbook on humates called Effects of Humic Acid on Animals, Humans, an overview of literature, and a review of current research. One of the couple of things that jumped out at me about these minerals, these plant-derived minerals, which I use in a lot of my skin health products, by the way, because plant-derived minerals have an ability to help cells utilize nutrients. Cells utilize nutrients more effectively, and nutrients penetrate through the skin anyway more effectively when they're attached to these polyelectrolytes, which is what the elements in the humates are technically or properly called polyelectrolytes, because they're electrical and they're magnetic. And this electromagnetism is a powerful source of energy. It acts as a delivery system for plants and for human beings. So you get electrolytes, which act as a source of energy, and you get a magnetic property pulling in nutrients, magnetically pulling in nutrients into cells. They open up little garage, I call them garage door openers in cells, but technically they're called voltage gates. And these voltage gates are activated by polyelectrolytes and humates and fulvates and clays and the things that are in the soil. The soil is the point of transfer of humates, or humates are the point of transfer from nutrients from soil to the plant, and likewise to your skin. Another interesting thing, I'll just, then we'll get your calls, 844-236-6010. Literature's indicated that red blood cells have a higher percentage of oxygen when in the presence of humates. And human subjects taking humates have reported feelings of euphoria during the first few days of taking humates, all attributed, according to this article anyway, or this chapter, this euphoria is a result of additional oxygen. You get better oxygenation when you ingest these fulvates, and these fulvates, of course, are supposed to be coming in vegetables and plants that grow from the soil. But we know that does not happen. Thus, the importance of your plant-derived minerals and your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, among other longevity products. All right, 844-236-6010. Time to talk to our friend, Coach Cozy. I'm going to give you the whole rest of this segment, Coach Cozy, because I know you got some good stuff to say. And by the way, thank you for doing your Facebooks and your YouTubes. They're very interesting and very fascinating. How you walk through the city and talk. I really appreciate that. Do we have Cozy?
Awesome, Ben. How you doing?
I'm doing good. That's your Instagram page, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, good.
Instagram. That's Instagram.com/Kozis Wellness. You can find me there. But yeah, that was great information about the humates. I'm going to definitely look that up. It's very interesting.
Isn't it interesting?
Totally.
The soil is only about about 2 or 3 feet at its deepest, but that's where everything is. That's what turns planet Earth, which is a rock, into the beautiful blue planet that the beautiful green and blue planet that we all know and love is the soil. That's the interface right there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, I think you were mentioning about a post yesterday, and I looked back, and I think I know which post you were referring to. It said that Dr. Fauci was backpedaling on his vitamin C and vitamin D. He mentioned something about vitamin C and vitamin D that 4 years ago, and now he's not talking about it. He's basically pushing all this quackery. And then it says, as he backpedals, New York hospitals are using vitamin C. So maybe you wanted to talk about that.
They are using vitamin C intravenous? How are they using the vitamin C?
Yeah, so they're using it. I know of 2 hospitals that are using it. Northwell Health, which is the largest hospital in New York State, they're using, it's a small amount compared to like the high doses that we know that you can get IV, but it's something. At least they're trying, right? So 1,500 milligrams 3 to 4 times per day. They're saying that they use. No, IV.
IV, okay.
IV. So it's not a big dose, but at least they're doing something, I'm sure it has a good effect. And New York Presbyterian, I heard that they're using like 2,000 milligrams per day, like, through slowly 24 hours.
That's interesting. An interesting admission. The fact that they're using it, that admits they're admitting that despite the fact that they poo-pooed it for so long, they're admitting that it must have some kind of benefit. Even if they're not as big on it as I am and a lot of other people are, they're at least admitting that there's some kind of benefit to it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good start. At least they're
right.
Starting.
It's a good start. Exactly.
We know that they can definitely do a lot more, but I guess it's the foot in the door, which is great. And this is great news for, for the world that, they're willing to do these non-toxic interventions.
All right, so we only have
a lot of toxic interventions. Yeah.
Cozy, we only have about a minute, so I want to what do you want everybody to know about this?
Well,
this whole
stuff, but
craziness.
I have so many things to say, but basically, you're doing a great job exposing, the mask myths and all of that stuff. But I just wanted to point you guys to a study here that I found, a Cochrane group about probiotics, and they're saying probiotics for preventing acute upper respiratory tract infection. This was interesting. It was, like a meta-analysis from 1978 to 2011. They looked at 14 randomized controlled trials, and guess what they concluded?
Yeah.
It said probiotics were better than placebo in reducing the number of participants experiencing episodes of acute upper respiratory infection.
How do you like that?
How about that?
Like that?
And it said and reducing antibiotic use. That's
exactly right.
Admission. And it's very interesting because these upper respiratory infections, they attack the mucous membrane, I guess, of the upper respiratory tract. And that's where our probiotics can go. There's a lot of beneficial bacteria there that's there to protect us because that's the interface between the outside world and the inside world. So we have a lot of beneficial bacteria there, and that's where they go to fight. So people get on your probiotics, and that's just one intervention. Ben talks about all these things that you can do on the daily basis, but imagine just doing one thing. And they're only talking about one simple thing, just opening your mouth and throwing a probiotic in there. And imagine if you were to do everything else that is mentioned on this show and what I also discuss as well. So guys, get out there, get healthy, do what you can, and be well, people.
Coach Cozy, you're awesome. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome.
All right, take care, man. All right, Jonathan Rivera, author and inspiring podcaster, coming up in our next segment. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. Bright Side, I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for joining us. We're on the air Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Pacific and 10 to 11 Central Time, 24/7 on the archive page at brightsideben.com. We have a search engine. If you miss a program or you want to review a program, just put the topic in the search engine, and you'll get multiple shows or whatever shows or any show, if any shows, up on our search engine at brightsideben.com. Also, check out our longevity products at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com, and all my Truth Skin Health products formulated in my compounding pharmacy for healing wounds, because healing is beauty. Truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. All right, I'm excited to have our guest on. Jonathan Rivera is the author of a couple of really cool books about podcasting, and he's much more than that. As I started to get into reading Jonathan's books and then checking him out online, I found out that he had a really, really cool podcast, which is along the lines of what we're talking about here today, which is the idea of inspiration and motivation. And I'm always up for inspiration and motivation, but especially in this Corona crazy time we're living in. Please welcome to the Bright Side, Jonathan Rivera. What's up, Jonathan?
Pharmacist Ben, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Glad to be here, and I was really stoked when you reached out to me, brother. So let's rock and roll.
I was stoked to see what you're doing. I read direct response podcasting and podcast recipes, and I just figured you were helping people utilize or leverage the power of the podcast platform. But then, as I dug deep, I found that you are a motivational speaker, and you motivated me. You really did. Your stuff is so good, man. It really is. Power, positivity, leadership, love, and opportunity.
Oh, my God. Dude, you really are listening.
I loved it. I so freaking loved it. I can't tell you. So let me hear first of all, I want to hear your story, okay? So I take it you got into direct marketing, or you're somehow involved with direct marketing. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I got everything wrong, and then I found the right way to do it, and it was direct marketing. But before that, I was just trying to figure out how to have a business, and I fell in love with the marketing part of it.
Are you an internet guy or a web guy or a hardware guy, software guy? I mean, are you a computer type person, IT person?
I'm a dad. I'm a man of faith. I'm a husband, but I wouldn't call myself any of those things. I'm a guy that likes to tell a good story.
Okay, but you didn't have a specialty in IT or anything.
Dude, I barely even got out of high school. I got almost kicked out of high school.
Okay, but you're so young. I mean, you look young. I'm assuming you're not 40 yet, probably, right?
42, baby, going on 43.
Okay, well, then you look good. You're still pretty young, though, compared to me. So how did you get into this idea that you wanted to be inspiring and that you want to help people in addition to being a direct marketer? There's a humanitarian aspect to what you do. It's not just business. So how did you get this, or were you always this way? How did you get from being a businessman to being a humanitarian or anthroposophist, as they would say, somebody who loves man, to from direct marketing? How did you make that leap, or was it always there?
I think really, I mean, what you're witnessing, you stumbled onto the Daily Bread project, and that was a new project, and that was my response to the fear that I had as all this chaos was breaking out. And instead of being scared, I just got called to lead. And what you're witnessing, and this might sound hokey to some people, it's like the Holy Spirit talked to me and said, bro, you got to use this platform. You got to use this work. You got to use your email list, your social media, and bring some positivity. And
that's awesome.
I mean, I've been growing as a person my whole life and evolving, and this is just the next evolution. And it's really driven by my faith and my love for my family and my love for my faith.
And you felt like you were called to do this.
I didn't have a choice, man. And I'll tell you the exact moment, because I recorded it. I record an Instagram story every day. And so I just tell stories about different things, because my love is, I love storytelling, like I told you. And there was one day where I came back. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus. I'm a Catholic man. I'm practicing, and I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus. And they do things like fish fries and Tootsie Roll drives and all that. And I'm like, I just can't. I can't do that. It's not me. It doesn't suit me. I don't know what I'm going to do. And one day I was walking in the park telling a story, and I realized, wait a second, this is what I'm supposed to do right here. I don't have to do it their way. I can share positivity. I can share love. I can share leadership, and I can share my faith right here with my Instagram stories, on my podcast, in my emails. And I was like, this is the platform, and this is why I've been building it.
So did it happen with this COVID thing, or was it building, or did that tip you over?
Yeah.
Tip you over?
So it goes back about, I would say, so I'm sure you've heard this, and nature abhors a vacuum. And so July of last year, I was at a real low. I was feeling terrible. Really just, I wasn't myself, and I was looking for a way to just kind of get some momentum and get moving. And I joined a mastermind, as all of us often do when we want to grow. And I learned about this thing called 75 Hard, which was a fitness and mental toughness challenge. And so in order to do it, I had to really rearrange my schedule and create a vacuum that I could fill with 75 Hard. And so I quit drinking. I quit sleeping in late. I quit doing the things that weren't serving me. And I started taking care of my fitness, got a little selfish. 2 walks a day, lifting weights, whatever, 45 minutes a day, twice a day, reading, doing all these things that were positive. And the place that I found that I was lacking, so I did that for 6 months straight, and I got in great shape, felt really great, skin looked great, everything, drinking a gallon of water a day. And I realized, all right, you know what's missing now? My body feels good. My finances are doing good. My family is good. I'm really missing the faith thing. And so I started leaning into the faith. And I was already hitting that before the COVID thing. And when that hit, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't really have a choice. I have to do it. And I've been doing it now for 40 episodes.
It's almost like an activation took place, kind of like you were activated when this whole COVID. That's kind of how I felt. That, like, this is my time in a way. This time I was born for this time. Did you get a sense like that? Does that make sense to you?
Those are the exact words. I'm finding that with people, and I had a great guest on yesterday that he said, when you know your life's purpose, you realize that all these things are just drops in the bucket. It's not anything that's going to keep you off track, and that's why you feel that way, I think. That's why I feel that way. Like, I was born for this because I have all of this knowledge. I have all this ability. I have all this positivity. I have all these connections. I feel exactly like you, bro. I was built for this.
I wonder if there's a lot of people, if you want the glass half empty, glass half full, obviously the half empty is everywhere, but the half full part is that there is a sort of activation of a group of people who are going to become activated and they'll be better for it after this, and the world will be better because they were better for it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I'm seeing it every day, man. The people that I get to speak with and the way that they're looking at what's going on as an opportunity to bond with family, as an opportunity to grow and be a better leader, as an opportunity for freedom business, all kinds of positive things are coming out of this. And that's just, if you're around the right people, that's exactly what it should be. This should be an opportunity.
That's awesome. Crisis equals opportunity, and the bigger the crisis, the bigger the opportunity. That's what we like to say here on The Bright Side. Jonathan, you're awesome. We're going to take a quick break. I still want to talk about power, positivity, leadership, love, and opportunity, and then also a little bit about podcasting. We're talking to Jonathan Rivera, Direct Response Podcasting, author of Direct Response Podcasting and Podcast Recipes. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. Back on The Bright Side, I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're talking to Jonathan Rivera, author of Direct Response Podcasting and Podcast Recipes, and also podcaster himself with a really cool podcast called The Daily Bread. Jonathan, is it always, when you do your program, do you ever talk about like conspiracy stuff and vaccine stuff and all the negative stuff, or is it always motivational and inspiring?
Yeah, we're trying to be the light. And so that's leaders in good and hard times. And so with that, I stick to how we can protect our minds and stay positive and block out all the nonsense out there.
Love it, love it, love it. Inoculate yourself against this mind virus, because it's a mind virus as much or even more than a physical virus that we're dealing with, right? It's a mental virus. So in our last segment, we got a few minutes here. I'm going to say one word or one thing that comes to mind with your mantra of 5 really, really very powerful ideas, and then I want to talk a little bit about podcasting specifically. So, power. What does that mean to you, succinctly?
Power means showing up.
Love it. Positivity.
Showing up.
Positivity.
Positivity means light, bringing the light.
Leadership.
Leadership means demonstrating what's possible.
Love.
Love to me fills all those gaps. Love is leadership, is positivity, is all of that.
So like that could be like an umbrella term for everything. Opportunity.
Opportunity is what we're living in right now, and turning obstacles into opportunities is what keeps you on eternal life of growth.
Now, you say you're religious, and you mentioned Catholicism. Does that infuse these ideas, or is that where these ideas come from, or how do they relate?
I think it just all it's taken me a while. Like you said, I'm young, I'm 42, but I figured out my pillars of purpose, and that's family, faith, fitness, and finances. And so all those pieces fit together to take me on my journey. That's the compass for where I'm going. And as long as I'm hitting those and moving in the right direction, they all work together to make me as a whole person.
All right. So your main thing is podcasting. So let's talk. And I assume that's got to be your deepest expertise. What do you say to somebody who wants to start a podcast? What's the first thing you would tell them to do?
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. Why? Why do you want to start a podcast? Because it's a lot of work. So
you have to have a why, basically. The whole idea of why is probably... Yeah. Why is really important. Like, what's your why? Do you ever see this? There's a YouTube video of a guy singing, and the host says, "I want you to sing a song," and he sings it, and then he sings "Amazing Grace," and he sings it really well. And then the host says, "Now I want you to sing it, thinking of what your why is." And then he does "Amazing Grace," and it's like it blows people away. It's like if you infuse what you do with why, everything what you do will be done better if you know your why.
Absolutely, that's the purpose.
So you have this thing called the Podcast Factory. What exactly is the Podcast Factory, and how can somebody utilize it if they want to do a podcast?
Sure. So we basically what we say is have a podcast in 30 days without headaches or hassles. And so you're an expert, you're good at what you do, you want to get the message out there, and you want to create an asset for your business. We put you on rails and deliver you there, and we're strategy partners as well as technical partners.
Now, do you have a platform you work with, or are you a platform or a network of some kind?
No, I mean, it's nice to be associated with the group, but no, we're not a platform of any kind.
So you'll put together the podcast from scratch for somebody, or tell them what to do step by step? How does that work?
All of it. So, yeah, it's really it goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's about telling a better story. And so we're about telling a story that gets action. And that's where we kind of meet that direct response podcasting thing is like anybody can have a podcast. I like to say anybody or any dummy with a smartphone can have a podcast. The key to making a podcast work for your business is telling the right story to the right people so you get the action that you're looking for.
Is there a difference between doing a live podcast and a recorded one? Is one better than the other? Is there ups and advantages and disadvantages to both, I imagine?
I think it's different things. Like what I'm really digging about the idea of live right now is that you can get interaction, which gets people bought in. And so I love that idea. I think that's beautiful. The cool part about doing something that's not live is that you can do it on your own schedule, you can batch, and you can be really leveraged out on your content creation.
What do you think about the video versus audio versus both? I see a lot more video now. Is it important to have video? Is it helpful to have video? Does it matter if you have content?
Yeah, you know what? I've spent the last year getting better at video because I see the same thing that you're seeing is like, yeah, video is important, especially when you're thinking of creating content for search engines and search engine optimization and content marketing. Video is a powerful piece to add to the mix. And so if you have the video, audio, and the written word, you're hitting the search engines with three different angles, and you're making yourself appear even more in search in three different ways. And so I think that really blows up your trust and credibility and it serves people in the different ways they want to be served.
Now tell us about your specific services, like cost and how people if somebody's listening and they're interested in and the specific things you do. I imagine you do coaching. Do you do logistical stuff too? Do you help them get on a network? What services do you provide, and how does it work, and how much is it?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say how much it is without knowing what package a person would be on. So I have to skip that part because we make a recommendation depending on what you want and what will serve you. But as far as the idea of the podcast service, all the technical stuff is taken care of. We have audio engineers, copywriters, and all that. And so what I tell people is I have a team that will take care of you on the back end with all of that. And me, personally, when I work with a person, it's about the strategy and how to take this asset that we're creating and utilize it, whether it's to get more phone calls, whether it's to get more speaking opportunities, whether it's to get more referrals. We figure out what's the best way to utilize this asset to get you the action that you want. And so it's a strategy partnership, like I said, and a technical partnership. And depending on if you want social media, if you want video, if you just want audio, if you want to do one show or two shows a week, there's different packages for all of that.
So you could do soup to nuts from idea to expediting and getting the whole thing done from just an idea.
I mean, like right now, so the Daily Bread Project went from idea to podcast in 7 days. And I thought, all right, that's me. I mean, I kind of have an unfair advantage because I've been doing this so long and I got the team and everything. So I had a couple guys come in about 2 weeks ago, and they said they wanted to speed pass. They're like, we got to get content out there. And I was like, all right, well, let's see if what I did can work for somebody else. And we have one guy, Marquell Russell. I put the two to compete against each other and offer him some ad spend for whoever won. And this guy got his podcast launched in about 10 days. And I've never seen anything like that. From idea, talking to me, to podcast launched in 10 days. We've never done it that quickly before.
All right, now I don't know. I have my shows on a bunch of different podcast platforms, but I don't know anything about specifically podcasting. What kind of tools do you have to have? Is it just your phone and you just go through some kind of platform and then you just podcast and you just broadcast?
For us, my audio engineers are super picky, so they yell at us if people are like recording on their phone. So a nice USB mic plugged into your computer, GarageBand or Audacity, will give you files that sound really well, and then having an audio engineer to take care of all the post-production makes you sound professional.
And can you do post-production without an audio engineer, or you pretty much need one?
I don't know how to do all that. That's why I built the company, was because I hated doing any of that stuff. And so I started hiring audio engineers, and then other people came to me and wanted help. And so I've always had people to help me with it. I mean, at least since 2013, I've had people to help with all that.
So if you have, is this the kind of thing like a kid can do, some kid who understands computers can do, or do you need somebody who's a professional audio engineer?
Oh no, I mean there's all kinds of software and all that kind of stuff to help you with those things. It's just, for me, I like to just have the guys that tell me, it's a two-way street. And so what I like about the audio engineers is that they're able to give feedback so that I can improve my game. And so how I'm recording or what tools I'm using, they give me feedback. And so same thing with the copywriters. The copywriters give our clients feedback like, hey, we need more stories so we can write better copy for you. Can you throw in an extra story or something like that? And so I like the human aspect and the training aspect and the growth aspect of it.
Jonathan, you're doing awesome work. Thank you so much for being here, Jonathan. Authors, Direct Response Podcasting, Podcast Recipes. If you're interested in starting a podcast, or you just want to listen to a really cool, inspiring podcast, The Daily Bread Project, that's the name of Jonathan's podcast, or go to thepodcastfactory.com for more information about Jonathan's podcast work. Thanks so much, Jonathan. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Have a beautiful, wonderful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to you later, folks. Bye for now.